If you're looking for a tortoise that can do very well in small areas, look no further than the marginated tortoise. We're going to talk all about them on today's episode. A good portion of my life has been all about action, which still holds true. But now I pour all that time and energy into wildlife conservation, education, and the pursuit of knowledge. This is Kamp Kenan. All right, here we go, folks. These are definitely a lot of fun, these tortoises. And we're sitting amongst two male marginated. There's a female, we'll try and find her in a moment, but right now let's talk about them as a species. So the marginated tortoises are from Southern Europe, and most accurately, they're from, Greece and Croatia, those kind of areas in that area of the Mediterranean. And they're called marginated tortoise because their marginal and coastal scutes here flare out. These guys get a really wide flaring on the back end of their tail. And some people believe that's because where they live on these kind of hilly, rocky outcrops, and that kind of helps them from tipping over because it gives them a lot of surface area on the back there, so when they graze for weeds and other plant matter, they don't flip over. They get just a smidgen bigger than this animal right here, than that specimen right there, but they are pretty much smaller tortoises, so they make good pets. They do very well in captivity, and many people in Europe and the United States keep these tortoises as pets. So many people ask me, what's a good one? And I always say, go small, man. Small tortoises got a lot of personality. If you don't have a lot of space, then these are definitely the ones you want to work with. They belong to the same family, the same genus as your Greek tortoises, your Hermann's tortoises, and of course, the marginated tortoise. They're in the Testudo genus. So this is Testudo marginata, and there are a few different subspecies, but I don't really worry about that in this video. If you want to get really deep into it, there's a lot of literature out there that you can find out the different locales and so on. Males will sometimes combat, but these guys have been living together for a long time, and this guy right here is just interested in finding a nice little Missouri tortoise chunk, and he's got it right there. So they are also strict herbivores, and as far as herbivores are concerned, they specialize in weeds and grasses. So high fiber and very low protein diet. They're found in very dry areas as well, and so you don't want these guys to get too wet. Now here in Florida, they take our summer rains. They're pretty adaptable. They were grown up here, but if they were to hibernate, which can happen in some of their natural range, you don't want them to get too wet and damp while it's cold. Let's pluck off this flower right here and see if anybody's interested. I kind of like doing this. Just throw a little flower down. As you can see, they don't mind hibiscus. They don't mind the hibiscus weeds. They'll eat, of course, all the normal foods that you'd feed any of your grassland diet tortoises. They're going to eat dandelion greens. They're going to eat romaine. They're going to eat collard greens, escarole, endive. I like to shred up the carrots and the yellow squash to give them beta carotenes, but mostly my tortoises, I'm feeding them a lot of natural roughage, a lot of grasses. I'll throw seed out here to plant during certain times of the year. I like to do the millet during the summer, and in our winter we just grow the rye grasses. These guys have been doing really well, and these are tortoises that live a long time. 70, 80, sometimes even 100 years, not even a big deal. These guys are just doing a great job, but you know what I want to do? I got to find the female so I can show you what she looks like. She's interesting. She has an atypically designed shell, so let's go on a little search. Guys, you might even remember we built the tortoise cave in this enclosure. That was a fun video, so go check that one out, and you can see how to build a little hiding spot for them. But you'll also notice that the enclosure is well planted with lots of shade, lots of edibles. Plus, it's also got a watering hole right over here. And this comes on a timer, it overflows, and once a week I get in and I spray it out. Tortoises are creatures of habit. They know their home. You don't really want to go changing their home around too much. You want them to get used to it. They need their space, they need to walk around, but they need to know where the food and where their water is. So I always keep things stable here. Let's gently, I like to look around here. Oh, there she is. I don't have to look too far. She's actually hanging out by the wall. She must have smelled things, but they'll come out, and you'll often see tortoises basking near walls because the concrete absorbs the heat and radiates off of it, and it'll speed up their basking. But look at this lady, look at her. Oh, she gets a little nervous, but there she is. Isn't this an interesting tortoise? She's got such an interesting shell right here. See, it's kind of narrow. That's not typical of all of them. She's just got her own little unique look about her. But she does have the marginals here, just like all the other marginated tortoises. These are actually called coastal scutes, but their coastals flare out and create that nice little padding. But really, really nice tortoises. A little bit oblong shape, but pretty plastrons. And she's got that tiny little tail. That's how you know she's a female, with that flat plastron. She does lay eggs, so I get babies from time to time. Another thing that can happen with these tortoises in captivity, if you keep them on something that's too soft and they aren't able to graze, is their beaks will grow. And that happens to most tortoises that are out there in captivity. So if you put them outside and allow them to graze, they naturally wear down that beak. One of the ways you can combat this in captivity is to feed them off a flat piece of rock. So as they eat some of the foods you've prepared for them, they will grind away naturally their beak, and that's what happens. Here's another really fun word for beak. It's a scientific term. It's called a rampatheca, which is kind of an interesting term. That means beak. So there it is right there. The beak is made out of keratin, as their fingernails are, and the outer layer of their shell has a keratin covering over those bony plates. So I'm gonna put her back down because tortoises don't like to be up in the air. So let's put this one down and hopefully she can find some of the food before the boys eat it all. There you have it, folks. That is the marginated tortoise. So it's a good start for you on your way to learning more about them. There's plenty of information out there if you're interested in learning a bit more. Plus, we're gonna have lots of bonus videos going up on the Instagram and Kamp Kenan Facebook pages. So make sure you check those out and subscribe to the Kamp Kenan channel. And I'm done. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.